Is it just me, or are clothes getting more expensive, yet somehow worse in quality? Step 1 in combating this: look at what your clothes are made of. You can build a beautiful house, but if the bricks are made out of cardboard, your house is going to just crumple in the wind. And the same goes for clothes. You can wear the most gorgeous looking dress, but if the fabric feels itchy on your skin or it only lasts one wash, then what's the point? In today's video, we are doing a deep dive into summer fabrics, which ones actually keep you cool, and how to tell good from bad quality. In my humble opinion, a good quality item comes down to 3 things. Number 1, the fabric that it's made of, which we'll be covering in this video. Number 2, the construction, so how well it's been made, and I'll be covering that in a few weeks' time, so subscribe so you don't miss that. And number 3, how long it lasts, because we obviously want our clothes lasting as long as possible. This is actually a long-awaited follow-up to a video that I made a few months ago that was more winter focused. So thank you so much for your patience. If you haven't watched that already, I would suggest watching that after this. I cover a lot of the basics there, and in this video we'll be kind of building on that with a more summer-focused lens. Sometimes it feels like we are living in this hyper-advanced age of technology, and yet things are just getting worse quality. So many brands are putting profit over quality, cutting corners, and leaving us with clothes that barely last a season. And it makes me just want to go back to basics, to learn how to sew, how to repair something properly, because my skills can definitely be improved on that point. If you've ever felt that same pull, that same desire to reconnect with the craft behind what we wear, then today's sponsor, Skillshare, might be the perfect place to start. Skillshare is an online learning platform with thousands of inspiring classes in everything from sewing and pattern making to productivity, marketing, photography, and more. One class that I've started and I'm really enjoying is Hand Sewing Basics: Work Wonders with Fabric, Needle, and Thread by Bernadette Banner. It's perfect if you're just starting out like me. It teaches foundational hand sewing techniques that really help you truly understand how garments are made and just how much care goes into every stitch. Even just watching her process and how she explains everything gives me an appreciation of what quality is meant to look like and how much time it should take to make a garment. These classes have been such a great way to learn a new skill, slow down, and connect with fashion in a more intentional way. Skillshare also create custom learning paths so that you have a tailored program to learn your new skill. Each class is taught by industry experts, and classes range from beginner to more intermediate. And the first 500 people to use my link in the description box will receive 20% off their first year of Skillshare. Thank you so much, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. And now let's get into our summer fabrics deep dive. Hello, editing me here, hence this. What is this? Basically, I was just editing the video and I realized I didn't give you kind of context into why we should choose natural fibers over synthetic fibers. So I think this is so important, especially during summertime when it's hot and we just need to stay cool. Synthetic materials are things like polyester, acrylic, nylon. These are essentially plastic and they trap heat, they trap odors, and they'll make you feel sweaty and gross, basically everything that we don't want for summer. On the other hand, natural fibers like cotton, linen, hemp, etc., things I will be getting into in this video, are breathable, they feel better on your skin, and if sustainability is important to you, then they also biodegrade at the end of their life. So with all that being said, let's go back to the video and to my nice hair and makeup. Before we get into each fabric individually, I want to teach you the universal quality test that works for pretty much any natural fiber. Just because something is 100% cotton or 100% linen doesn't automatically make it good quality. And these are the same principles whether you are looking at something that costs £10 or whether you are looking at something that costs 250 pounds. Number one is the fiber length rule. The length of the fiber is the biggest quality indicator across all natural fabrics. Basically, long fibers equals better quality. This is because they create longer, smoother yarns that are prone to less pilling and breakage. Shorter fibers mean a rougher texture and faster deterioration. So if you see a fabric that is slightly fuzzy, this might be an indication that the brand is using a lower quality material because the fibers are shorter. Number two is the touch test. I feel like we can no longer rely on brands telling us if something is premium or not, and we just have to feel it for ourselves. A good quality fabric should feel substantial, but not heavy. So touch the fabric, run it between your fingers. It should feel smooth and consistent. It shouldn't feel rough or like papery. And number three is the light test. So hold the material up to the light, and this will help you see if the weave is even and consistent. The material shouldn't be patchy anywhere. There should be an even thread tension throughout. And those are three general rules to use when you are out shopping for clothes. So let's start with the most common fabric, cotton. Cotton comes from cotton plants that produce fluffy white fibers around their seeds. The plant needs warm climates and a lot of water for it to grow. It also needs a lot of processing for it to become the cotton fiber that we know today. Cotton is a really good fiber for summer because it has a loose weave that allows air to flow freely through the fabric, so it's very breathable. It doesn't insulate heat like wool or synthetic fibers. It's naturally soft and non-irritating against your skin, and it can absorb up to 25% of its weight in moisture without feeling wet to the touch. When it comes to cotton, there are lots of different qualities. So starting right at the bottom, we have short staple cotton. So like I said, fiber length is the most important thing when it comes to quality. And these fibers are usually under 1 inch long. It will feel rough and weak, and it will pill very quickly. It will lose its shape after washing. And this cotton is often unlabeled, or it just says 100% cotton. Moving up in the ranks, we have Pima cotton, and this type of cotton uses long staple fibers, so it's smooth, it's strong, it's long lasting. However, Pima cotton is not always certified, and so the quality can vary depending on the source. Next, we have Supima cotton. This is a branded, certified type of Pima cotton that is grown exclusively in the US. It is verified by the Supima Association, so that ensures that it's genuine and it meets strict quality standards. And Supima cotton makes up about 1% of the world's cotton. Next, we have Egyptian cotton, which is a very high quality cotton, but only if it's genuine. Egyptian cotton is often mislabeled because manufacturers know that we are looking for Egyptian cotton. To make sure that it is the real deal, you want to look for the Egyptian cotton trademark logo or a certification from the Cotton Egypt Association. You also might have come across organic cotton. This is cotton that is more sustainable as it uses less water and no harmful chemicals. So if you have sensitive skin, this is better for your skin. And it is often associated with fairer labor practices. And the good thing is that organic cotton is regulated, so you have to be certified to use the term organic cotton. So you will see certifications from the Global Organic Textile Standard or the Organic Content Standard. However, bear in mind that organic doesn't necessarily mean high quality. It can still be short staple fibers or poorly woven because organic refers to how it's been grown, not how it feels or performs. So just bear that in mind. You might also come across mercerized cotton. This is regular cotton that has been treated with chemicals to make it smoother and shinier. This treatment of the cotton makes it look more like silk. It also makes it last longer and it makes it hold colors better. And mercerized cotton is often marketed as a more premium cotton, so it will be at a higher price point. I think the reason why cotton is so popular is because of how prevalent it is in so many different types of clothing. There's so many different ways you can knit or weave cotton. I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but a few that you may come across specifically for summer are a knitted jersey type of cotton, which is great for t-shirts. Then we have things like cotton twill. You will recognize this because it has diagonal ridges and is very durable, so it's great for like jeans or chinos. There's cotton canvas, which is heavy and sturdy, which is good for, like canvas tote bags or shoes. Then there is cotton muslin, which is very soft and is often used for like baby clothes. And then we have things like seersucker, which has that like puckered texture. And this is really good for summer because that texture allows more air circulation, so it keeps you cooler. And I think it's also good for taking on holiday because the texture means that when it's wrinkled, you can't really tell. Another very popular fabric for summer is linen. Linen is made from the inner fibers of the flax plant, and one of the reasons why it's so loved, aside from just how breezy it feels in the summer, is that it tends to be more sustainable than cotton. So according to some sources that I read, the flax plant can often thrive just on rainfall alone, whereas cotton is notoriously water intensive to grow. It also requires fewer pesticides and fertilizers, which is obviously better for the soil and the surrounding environment. So why is linen so good for summer? It has an even looser weave than cotton with its hollow fibers. It dries faster than cotton, which is crucial if you are sweating. It's also less clingy than cotton when you sweat, and it's naturally odor resistant. Low quality linen is made from short, coarse fibers. It feels very rough and stiff. It won't soften over time, and it will have a very loose, uneven weave with heavy lumps that are called slubs. I bought these shorts a few years ago and they are 100% linen, and I thought that just because it was 100% linen, it meant that it's good quality. But now that I have learned a little bit more about fabrics and I'm, just taking a look at them again, I can really tell that it is a low quality linen. The weave doesn't look very good. It's pilling in some places, and like the slubs are very harsh and lumpy. On the other hand, a high quality linen is made from long staple flax fibers. It feels very smooth and fluid, even when it's new. It should have a tight, even weave, and the slubs are smoother and more evenly placed. The one thing about linen, which we all know, is that it wrinkles very, very easily. And understandably, it puts some people off. I personally don't mind the wrinkles. I think it's just part of linen's charm, but I understand why people don't like it. High quality linen will wrinkle in a more softer, kind of like lived in way. This is because the longer fibers make the fabric more flexible. So it has more of a fluid crease rather than a low quality linen, which will kind of crumple rather than look lived in, if that makes sense. When looking for high quality linen, you want to look for labels such as European flax, Masters of Linen, or specifically Belgian and French linen. This is because the climate and processing methods there produce a more superior flax plant, so a higher quality linen. Next, we have hemp, which is kind of like linen's tougher cousin, and it might be the perfect summer fabric that you are not wearing yet. So hemp comes from the stalk of the hemp plant, and it's produced in a very similar way to how linen is produced. The properties of hemp are similar to linen, similar but different. And so I've just put together a quick table to compare the two. So the look and feel, linen will feel crisp at first, but will soften with wear, whereas hemp feels rougher at first, but softens even more over time. For breathability, linen is very breathable as it has that loose weave and hollow fibers. Hemp is equally breathable, but it can feel slightly heavier. Linen is great at moisture wicking. It absorbs well and dries really quick. Hemp also is good at moisture wicking. It dries even faster and is less prone to staying damp. Both linen and hemp are naturally antibacterial and odor resistant, but hemp is slightly better at this. So it might be great for traveling or if you are more prone to sweating. In terms of UV protection, linen is okay, whereas hemp has an even stronger natural UV protection. In terms of sustainability, linen is more sustainable than cotton, as we talked about before, but hemp is arguably more sustainable as it needs less water and it grows quicker. In terms of the look or style, linen has that more elegant and classic feel, whereas hemp is more earthy, it's slightly more rugged and has a more of a utilitarian aesthetic. So in terms of high quality hemp, the same rules apply. You want to look for longer fibers and a tight weave. Next we have Ramy or Ramy or Ramy. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to go with Ramy. I'm going to go with Ramy. So this is actually a fiber I've only come across this year. And since I noticed it this year, I've seen it more and more frequently as I've looked at stuff online. It's definitely gathering more popularity, and once I tell you the benefits, you'll understand why. Ramy is a natural fiber that comes from the plant, which is a flowering plant in the nettle family. And the fiber comes from the inner bark of the Ramy plant stem. It is native to Eastern Asia and it grows well in warm, humid climates. And this fiber is particularly favored in sustainable fashion because it's biodegradable and it uses less chemicals than a lot of other fibers. So what makes Ramy special? It is stronger than linen and has a silk-like luster. It is more absorbent than cotton and better moisture wicking than linen. It is naturally antimicrobial and mold resistant. It's also heat resistant, so it maintains its properties even in extreme temperatures. It has superior UV protection compared to cotton, and it also dries fastest of all natural fibers due to its hollow structure. However, it can feel stiff and scratchy when it's new, although it should soften with washing, and is also prone to wrinkling like linen. You'll often find Ramy blended with other fibers such as cotton or silk or linen rather than used alone. This combines the strength and cooling properties of Ramy with the comfort of other fibers. Moving on to silk now. Silk is produced by silkworms. The silkworm spins a cocoon out of one long continuous strand of silk. These cocoons are then boiled or steamed, which loosens the fibers, and traditionally this kills the silkworm inside, which is why some people avoid silk for ethical reasons. The strands are then unraveled and spun into yarn and woven into fabric. I personally don't wear silk that often during summer as like everyday wear, even though I am wearing a silk camisole that I got pre-loved. This is from Doan. For me, silk is more like a special occasion wear, or for like weddings or evening wear. I just find for everyday, silk does tend to show sweat more easily because it's like that shiny fabric, and I am a sweaty gal, so for everyday wear, silk is not really for me. However, the fabric does have some good qualities that would suit warmer weather. It is temperature regulating, so silk keeps you cool when it's hot and warm when it's cold, so it's good for layering. Silk lets air circulate, so it's breathable. It's very lightweight and it's gentle on sensitive skin. If you are looking for silk that is kind of for animals, then shop pre-loved like this top, or you can look for something called piece silk or hamisa silk. This is silk that has been harvested without killing the silkworm, although it might have a more textured feel than traditional silk. And those are the main natural fibers that you might come across for summer. We are not done. We still have semi-synthetics to cover. And by the way, if you've been finding this video useful, then please give me a thumbs up, as it really helps get this video out to more people. Okay, so semi-synthetic fabrics. You may have heard of fabrics such as rayon, modal, lyocell, TENCEL, viscose, and bamboo. Yes, even bamboo, which honestly surprised me too, and we will get into that in a minute. So what are all these fabrics, and are they the same? Are they different? Why is it so confusing? So semi-synthetic fabrics sit somewhere in between natural and synthetic fibers. They are made of natural plant fibers such as wood pulp, but they go through a very heavy chemical processing in order to be created into fabric. Think of rayon as the umbrella term, and everything else kind of sits underneath it. Rayon is kind of like the generic term for these plant regenerated cellulose fibers. Rayon can be good in the summer because it has breathable qualities similar to cotton or linen. It's lightweight and airy, so it's good for floaty dresses and blouses and loose trousers. It is soft and smooth to the touch. It's more moisture absorbent than cotton, and it doesn't trap heat. Viscose is the most common type of rayon that is made from wood pulp. Very common. I'm sure you would have seen it everywhere in the shops because it is relatively cheap, but it feels very luxurious and smooth. It's often used as a cheaper version of silk. So you'll see it in a lot of these sort of like silk looking skirts or dresses. And then when you look at the label, it will say viscose. I also want to add in here that viscose and rayon are relatively cheap materials. They are cheaper than natural fibers, but because they can be woven and knit in so many different ways to mimic things like cotton or silk, they are often chosen by brands to cut costs. So I do find that these fabrics, to some extent, can look somewhat cheap, even though they might have qualities that suit hotter weather. Now, I mentioned bamboo earlier, and you might be surprised that I've put bamboo in the semi-synthetic section. Before researching this video, I thought that bamboo was like linen or hemp, in that it was, made in the same way. Turns out, it's not that straightforward. Most of the bamboo that you'll see on the market today is actually bamboo viscose. This means that it has been very heavily chemically processed. It's made by breaking down bamboo pulp using very strong solvents and then regenerating it into fibers. So this technically makes it a semi-synthetic. Of course, there is a more natural bamboo. This is called bamboo linen, but it's actually very rare because it's very expensive and labor intensive to make. So most of the bamboo clothing that you'll see on the market, again, is bamboo viscose, and it might not be as natural or as green as brands want you to think it is. They're essentially selling you viscose that's disguised as bamboo. Yay! Modal is another type of viscose that is made from beech trees. It goes through a traditional process that makes it somewhat stronger than viscose. Again, it's incredibly breathable and silky smooth. It is very resistant to shrinkage and pilling, and it is around 50% more water absorbent than cotton. And you'll see it being used to make underwear or PJs or bedding and things like that. So are these semi-synthetic fabrics sustainable? So even though this video is about summer fabrics, I feel like I can't talk about these semi-synthetics without touching on sustainability. I have touched upon sustainability before in my videos, and from the comments, I know that you are all really smart people and you want more. You want the whole picture rather than just, does this look nice or not? However, before we do get into this little sustainability section, I do also just want to say that sustainability is such a huge topic. It's also a very nuanced topic, and I am only scratching the surface here. And like everything, it's not a easy yes or no answer. So with that all being said, you might have noticed that brands push these semi-synthetics as being more sustainable than synthetics like polyester because they're made out of wood pulp. But is that actually true? So when it comes to the production of semi-synthetics, there are like two major concerns. Number one is where the wood pulp is coming from, because fast fashion does play a significant role in deforestation. And number two, the chemicals that are used to produce these fabrics are not good for the environment. However, these fabrics can be sustainable if they are made in a closed loop process. So what this means is that the water and chemicals used during production are captured and reused, and this minimizes toxic emissions and also reduces water and energy waste and is much safer for workers and the environment. These fabrics might also be certified by the FSC, which stands for the Forest Stewardship Council. And this is an international nonprofit that sets standards for responsible forest management. This means that the wood pulp comes from sustainably managed forests, were legally and ethically harvested, and do not come from endangered or illegally cleared forests. Another type of rayon that you may have come across is lyocell. This is a newer version of rayon that is produced in a closed loop process. Again, this fabric is very beautiful, it's soft, it's drapey. I have a few lyocell items that I absolutely love wearing. However, the term lyocell isn't trademarked and there's no regulation on it, which means that it's just a generic fiber name. And any manufacturer can technically use it, regardless of how sustainably they produce it. I know, it's very tiring being a consumer, isn't it? But all is not lost. There are sustainable versions of these materials, and they all come from the Austrian company Lenzing. So to make sure that you are buying a responsible version of viscose, look for ECOVERO, which is their closed loop alternative to traditional viscose. It's made from certified wood pulp with significantly lower water use and emissions. They also produce TENCEL modal, which is a cleaner, more sustainable version of modal. And to make sure that you are buying responsibly made lyocell, look for TENCEL. If you have watched my channel before, you may have seen me rave about TENCEL. I absolutely love all of my TENCEL pieces, my TENCEL shirts. I personally find them to drape better than cotton. I find them to be softer and smoother to wear than cotton, and it wrinkles less easily. So with all that information, what is best to wear when? This video has been a huge fabric information overload. I appreciate it if you are still here. If you are still here, leave me a red apple emoji in the comments so that I know you've made it this far and I will reply to your comment. I have summarized what to wear when in this table on screen. You can pause this video here to print screen it, take a screenshot, take a picture of it, and reference it at a later time. The bottom line is touch everything before you buy it or before you decide to keep it if you are shopping online. If it doesn't feel good there and then, it's not going to feel good when you decide to keep it in your wardrobe. Trust your hands, look for certifications, look for brands being transparent about where their fabrics and factories are. And remember that when it comes to summer, good quality isn't just about looking good, it's also about being comfortable when the temperatures rise. The next video in this series is going to dive into construction quality, because even the best materials can be ruined by poor tailoring. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that one. And I'm gonna leave the first high quality clothing video that I did on screen if you haven't watched it already. Thank you so much for watching this one, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.